We have nearly 100 million daily active users with 97.8 million daily active users on Roblox. More than half of that audience, 62% of that audience, is over the age of 13, which is really exciting.
Welcome to Brands in Play, the podcast where we explore immersive marketing and the people who are leading it. I'm Albane Prioux, Insights and Partnership Director at Geek.
And I'm 𝗕𝗃𝗄, co-founder and chief innovation officer at 𝗕𝗃𝗆.
This week on the show, Kiko Milano arrives on Roblox. Megan 2.0 is coming this summer. The Eurovision is securing the next generation of fans, and FIFA migrates the NFT into their own blockchain.
And later, we speak to our friend and colleague Winnie Burke, the global group director of fashion and retail partnerships at Roblox. And we're going to take a deep dive into commerce and how that's going to be blowing up across the Roblox platform.
Absolutely. And don't forget to subscribe, review, and join the conversation with #BrandsInPlay. Let's dive in.
Let's go.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
Albane, what's up? I'm good. I am in New York City.
I can see that, a fancy new background for you.
Yeah, change of pace. I'm excited. Just arrived about a couple hours ago from a red eye, flying from LA. So I'm out here to go to the 𝗕𝗵𝘆 tonight, the 𝗕𝗵𝘆 Awards, which I'm super excited about. 𝗕𝗃𝗆 took 3 wins for 2 Roblox projects and 1 immersive web-based project as well.
That's so cool. So you already know, like, no pressure. You already know. So you arriving on stage. Do you have a speech ready, or how does that work?
No, I think for this one, like, yes, we already know all of the winners. There's no surprises. Everyone records their own speeches beforehand and sends them in.
Hey.
So, like, everything is there. I think this is just more of like a networking event, a party, grab your trophies and whatnot and all that.
Are you going to do this?
We got 4, so.
Too much good work. So did you like one?
Those things are heavy too.
Do you have an empty suitcase, one for like your personals and then one for all of your trophies that you have to carry away?
I actually did not think about that because every time I go to these, they normally don't give you the trophies, but yeah, normally it's like they mail them out a little bit later. But I literally have, they don't allow any bags, so like my bags are like already like fully packed. I have 0 room. So if they do hand me 4 of these things, it's going to be an issue.
Well, I hope you have a good time in New York. It's always a blast. How long are you going to stay there for?
I'm just here for less than 48 hours. So I'm going to be out tomorrow.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I'm prepping actually to come to your part of town. So next weekend, I'll be heading to LA to see you actually.
That's right. Next week, we are going to be on location at Games Beat Summit in LA.
And we're going to do loads of interview there on site. If you are coming and you are listening to the show, let us know. Send us a DM. It would be great to meet you guys. But we'll be doing a lot of interviews there. So I'm really excited to come to LA. I haven't been in a while, so it's always exciting to be there.
What else?
The news.
Yeah, let's go to the news.
Okay, I feel, Nick, before we even go into the news of this week, the biggest news, and I think for the foreseeable year, I feel like the biggest news is always going to be GTA. And they've released their second trailer, which already has 475 million views just across all platforms, by the way, but just on the first day of release, which is insane. And I think just gives people the scale and the fandom that is associated with this game. But did you watch the trailer?
Yeah, I saw it on day 1, like everybody else. I'm one of those 475 million people. And yeah, I was super stoked on it. I've been like looking forward to this game for a long time. I think, when was the last time they released that teaser trailer? Was that a year ago?
A year ago. And I feel like they've made a lot of progress. I haven't watched back the first one, so I'll have to confirm with that. But I feel like the second trailer definitely blew me away. And the quality, also the storyline, it just felt like incredible. I'm just so excited about it.
I actually liked the first trailer better because it felt more like a teaser. If you go back and rewatch it, like the energy, the pacing, and the style, like I was just so blown away. This new one has way more content. It's like very interesting, got all these cool things, but it's very like kind of just chopped up, and it runs a lot longer. It's a whole different feel.
I agree. Okay, I see what you mean. But I feel like, you know what? after what I thought was going to be the release of summer, and now another year of waiting. If they gave me like another 60-second trailer, I don't think I would have been happy. So I think they did well on sharing a little bit more content, because come on.
Yeah.
Enough is
Well, the one thing I did think was just like, wow, how adult this game is. I mean, I know that like the subject matter's been adult for a long time, but
Yes.
seeing that level of graphic fidelity and quality in the art with all those, also with like the adult storylines, it really is like, this is not for kids. Like this is very, aged up stuff, violence, sex, all that stuff. It's all in there, and it's concerning to, I'm sure, younger audiences.
Yeah, I mean, it's like any films, right? You've got films that are for younger audiences. This is like a AAA game, so even big. I can't even think like AAA's doesn't reflect what this game is or will be. But it's like anything, you have different audiences for a different genre, and I think it's at everyone's discretion to decide how to engage with it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And that's why they got the mature rating
Yeah.
on there
But
for a
what's
reason.
really exciting is something that GTA has always done really well, and I think is integrating brands, but not real brands, but parody brands into their game. So I think, as far as I can remember, like GTA 3 had it, GTA 5 for sure had some. And it was really cool to see on the trailer a few of those parody brands. So I'm just excited to see what's going to come out of it. I think that's always the fun part for me, is to see how brands are being parodied inside GTA. So I spotted a few of them. Did you see any of these?
Yeah, I spotted a few myself, and it's really interesting because that you have these parodies, and that's its own fake vibe. I mean, how are you gonna work in real brands next to all the parodies, or should the brands themselves be parodying themselves? You know what I mean?
I think I would be quite disappointed in a way if you had the real, like, I think like what's really clever, what they've always done, and I think we can name a few, like Life Invader was an obvious parody of Facebook. You also had Burger Shop for Burger King, and I think we've seen just this one on the trailer, 𝗕𝗏𝘆, which is obvious. Well, I think that's Heineken. It looks like Heineken. It might be any other brands, any other beer brand, but I think what brands should do is not try to, replace the parody, but more thinking about what they can do with it.
In that same vein of having fun and being exaggerated and disturbing in a certain way. Like, that's how a brand would come in there organically. They
Yeah.
wouldn't just show up with their standard branding package that they have right now for a campaign. They can have a lot of fun with it. And I think that's probably the direction they'll lean in, right?
I don't see Meta doing something around Life Invader, but why not? They might, right?
Yeah, it still has to be brand safe and not too risky, but I think you can push the envelope on a platform
So,
like that.
embracing how you're being parodied by one of the biggest developers is like such a good compliment. It's such a good compliment to be in the game anyway. And if anything, this is going to be a game for the next decade that is going to be played. So if you can be really smart, there's a way for your brand to have an imprint on this for like the foreseeable years. So I'm excited to see what brands are going to do with it. But
Yeah.
don't touch. If brand is thinking about, let's put a real live brand inside the game, I would be so bold to say this is not the right avenue, and I would just hope that you respect the fact that those parodies are really fun, and I think they make me love the real life brand better.
Yeah, I agree. Well, brands, you have 12 months to think about that strategy. So take your time.
What's up?
What's our first story today?
So for me, I have 𝗕𝗂𝗄𝗏 that is on Roblox. So 𝗕𝗂𝗄𝗏 is a beauty brand. And the reason why I picked this story, like we've seen beauty brands going inside Roblox, but I think this particular brand, to me, it was really interesting because that was the brand that at least at my younger age, early 20s, that was made for millennials. It was a very young, dynamic brand. And I think since over the last few years, I don't feel like they've really been able to tap into Gen Z. And last year, they've got acquired, and the new executive mentioned that their strategy for this year, for 2024 and 2025, was going to be, targeting the next generation. So past my age, targeting the Gen Z, the Gen A, and more particularly the US. And this is their first gaming activation. So I just thought that was really interesting how, from last year being acquired to now having a global strategy, and this in 2025 is their first activation on Roblox. It just goes to show again that it takes a bit of time for brands to activate on the space, but really excited to see a brand like Kiko Milano that used to be really popular for millennials and maybe had slightly missed the mark with the Rode, the 𝗕𝗏, and all of those really like Gen Z brands. I think they've really missed a bit of a step here. So I thought it was really excited to see them take advantage of Roblox. And I'm not sure if you've been in the experience, but thought that you would like it because it was really, really beautiful, really beautifully made. So I just
Yeah.
it was a clever, high fidelity game.
Yeah, I haven't jumped in yet, but from what I've seen on trailers and video clips, it's really impressive. So that's exciting. And to echo your point, I just really love when, more traditional brands or legacy brands get into gaming for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's always like a scary step, or they feel like they're going into a space they don't understand. But if they have an open mind and they work with, studios and agencies that understand it, they can really fall in love with the process. And I've experienced that firsthand, like working with these really talented marketing teams that are a little apprehensive to do, a step into gaming. But after you workshop and go and get in the trench together, they end up really enjoying the process from my experience. So I hope it's the same for this company as well. And it gets easier. The first time is always,
It's always hard.
what am I doing? How do I show up here? How do I protect the brand? And the second is like, oh, well, these things worked, these didn't.
Yeah.
Let's try this. And then the third is like, well, what we should be doing is really showing up in this way, And I feel like I've worked with all of these brands that have done it for the first time, and now they've become experts. Now they really have a strong point of view of what they want to do. And that's the direction we're all moving in, which is
The one thing that I would say is maybe for like the one maybe critique that I would say is thinking also about mechanics that are going to have a long term, because right now they started with a scavenger hunt, and I think you need to be a bit mindful when you have a known environment of what is the longevity as well of this environment and how you're going to continue to get people to come back to like the third play, fifth play, etc. That's the one thing that I would say when you're launching an owned environment, it's a long-term commitment. So thinking beyond that first scavenger hunt, what else? It's a constant content that you need to start building up onto.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
And it looks like they did a great job. So props to them. So my first story is all about the film M3GAN. Have you seen that film, Albane?
Yes. It's been a while, right? Since the first one. When was it? No, I don't want to say 2015. It's not. That's too old.
No, it's just a few years back. But yeah, definitely an interesting horror film all about the possible things that can go wrong with AI. It's very like Black Mirror-ish. And the new film is coming out in just a couple months here. So very excited about that. But this story that I wanted to talk about came through Variety. And essentially what it was Blumhouse re-released a few of their classic horror films like 6 months out before Halloween, just as this sort of stunt, like in the US. And they kind of came to all these different theaters. They played the films. One of them was the original M3GAN. And what they wanted to do as a marketing sort of like promotional stunt was give audience goers the ability to text with M3GAN while they're in the movie. And exactly. So the reporter, it was her opinion, basically said that this was an epic fail. Like it did not work. It did not engage. And she goes on to talk about how, at the beginning of the movie, you're supposed to, basically launch the app well, it's not an app, but you would basically go to Instagram and DM this special M3GAN account, and then you could start talking with her. But it was sort of just timed out and trivia and like BTS. So instead of like an AI that was really like responding to what you were saying to it, it was just reacting to the timeline of the movie and delivering facts. So it just really wasn't like
Optimized.
super unique. Yeah. And it wasn't like really leveraging AI. I think it was, it's just a lot of buzzwords. And I feel like it's a little bit of it's not what we should be doing. And it's not really isn't AI.
No.
And I think the main concern for me is like, a second screen in a theater seems a bit odd. Like you're paying money to sit down in a theater and fully engage with a story on the screen. It's weird that you would have a phone in your hand and sort of multitasking like that. Although you look at what's happening in the living room, and that's already what's happening. You've got all these young people on their phones while they're watching TV. So I don't know. Second screen, AI, what's your thoughts on this?
You know what? When you mentioned, I haven't seen the story, but when you explained, I feel like the first thing that came to mind is that the space was wrong. I don't think you're right. I don't think a phone has anything to do in a cinema, but it has a lot to do in the living room. And I think, like human beings, the novelty wears off very quickly. So if you can't catch up with the ChatGPT and how fast and quick these AI agents can like respond to your requests, etc., like people are gonna find like I'm not gonna I guess find that innovative. It has to like, especially like there's no excuse, especially with AI now, there's no excuse for this not to work and to be like very quick to answer and for the process to be seamless. But I just think you're absolutely right, where it might just be a buzzword and they thought that it would get traction. And you should be sure about the story. It shouldn't be like, I don't know, you shouldn't add AI just as a way to like add stuff on top. It should like
Have a purpose
have
and be engaging.
exactly. But it's a shame because I thought the idea was really cool and I thought it would have been like really fun. If on top of that it would have added like the scares, like I'm upstairs or I'm I'm in the, I don't know, like something a little bit more like scary to add to the film.
There's a lot of creativity that you could put into
So much.
real-time AI conversations based on what's happening and the interactions that you're having. I think it was a cool idea. It was poor execution and not really leveraging AI in the way it needed to be. But it kind of sparked my thoughts around how you can start to do this type of thing, this interactive thing with film as a second screen. So I think it'll be interesting to see where people go with this in the future.
Netflix actually removed all of their interactive film on their platform because they are dialing down on gaming. So the Black Mirror episode that was interactive, there were a few films that were interactive. They removed all of them from the platform, and I'm not going to continue to do that.
Because they want to focus gaming, they want a hard line. Netflix games.
Because I think they realize that's what people are doing in the living room. They're gaming while watching the film or in between their sessions. Well, it kind of defeats the point that you have to be really engaged with what you're watching and then being on that phone. Like, I feel like people want to be on the phone to do something else and I don't know. I think that's I just thought it was an interesting point that kind of mirrors what you said.
I didn't realize that. And yeah, I mean, I think this is all about user behavior, and we don't know how people are going to want to use it. And I think with technology, you can create this level of interactivity that we've never even seen before with entertainment. And so I think that's an interesting space that we'll see.
Absolutely. So the next story, guys, is the Eurovision Party 2025 coming onto Roblox. So this is a project that the Geek team was involved with the BBC. The experience was developed by 𝗕𝗃. And essentially, I think that was just really interesting because I don't know about you. Do you watch the Eurovision? Is it a thing in the US as much as it is in Europe?
No, honestly, I have to admit that I didn't know what Eurovision was. And I had some conversations about this project over the past few months. And every time I would talk to a European, they were like insulted. They're like, this is the biggest music thing that happens across Europe. They're like, how do you not know this? But I would venture to say that most Americans probably don't know it. But it sounds like a really big deal.
It is a really big deal. And I think it's a great way to like, I guess, I thought it was just very smart for like this next generation because it's more, I would say probably it's a legacy show. So it's something that my grandparents would have watched, my mom would have watched, and I watched a little bit. But, I think I was just trying to think of how do you capture this next audience? And it just makes so much sense for it to be on Roblox. And I think they've just started launching this weekend, but there's going to be a lot that unravels over this week. The semi-final are tomorrow and on Thursday, the 15th of May. And they already are teasing that there might be some live connection as well. So stay tuned, I think, for that, because I think this is going to be a really interesting case that we'll talk more about next week, actually post everything.
Well, that's how they say relevant.
Exactly.
So smart. And my last story is all about FIFA. And so FIFA has created their own blockchain for their digital collectibles, their NFTs. So, Albane, are you a big NFT holder?
I mean, back when, I guess the hype of like 2021, yes, but I feel like I haven't been. I can't say like I'm a hardcore Web3 person. So I know about it. I own a few, but I'm not part of any communities to say that like I know everything about it.
I'm kind of in a similar place, and I would venture to say that a lot of people kind of did that. They were interested in the beginning, and now there's some waning interest. But picked this story because I thought it was just really interesting how FIFA is leaning in so hard. So essentially, they were on a different blockchain called Algorand, and they basically are creating their own FIFA-based blockchain that's running on Ethereum. And I guess this FIFA collection has been online for over 2 years, and they've sold over 2 million packs. So I think that like it's been monetizing well for them, and obviously they're trying to create their own blockchain so they can have more control over the data, over the ecosystem, and what their future plans are. They're probably making a bigger cut on the revenue, and I was just really interested because I feel like it's working for them. They're going to grow it. And then at the same time, you look at something like Nike, who's basically abandoning their NFT side with Artifact, and all the problems that arose there. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of crypto, but I am a big fan of the blockchain, digital ownership, being able to track that and make that across all kinds of different platforms. I think that's really important. But yeah, it's cooling now, it seems. I'm
Yeah.
curious to get your thoughts.
Well, I just wonder if, and again, I haven't like really deep dive into the news, but I wonder if the reason why they went onto their own one is for the safety of. We've seen, some of those blockchains and system like going bust and not, being as reliable. And I wonder if from a just pure like brand safety, that it's better for them to have their own blockchain as opposed to relying on a third party. That's my first thoughts on it. And then I'm interested on it. I think the issue around the blockchain is like for NFTs, etc., is like the volatility of the currencies on there. And I don't know, I don't really trust as much.
Yeah, I agree with that. I am just curious to see what happens with Web3, blockchain, crypto. Is this actually going to turn into a thing or not?
Yeah.
With the recent new President Trump putting so much energy behind crypto, I thought we would see more of a tick,
And
which
his
I
body
don't know if we
Elon.
have. What's that?
It's because of his body Elon, but I don't know if it seems very targeted what Trump cares about.
Absolutely. Well, I think we can probably put this on ice for another 6 months and then come back to it and see if it's really a thing. So later on, we are going to be talking to Winnie Burke from Roblox about commerce. We thought that this week for real-time review, we would jump in and look at some Roblox experiences, or at least one that is leveraging Shopify to sell IRL goods within their experience. Have you done any of this, Albane?
So no, sadly, it's not available for me in the UK, but I'll make sure to check it out when I'm in LA next week. But I mean, it was announced at RDC last year, this huge partnership that they've done. So I'm just really excited for us to deep dive and to see in real life what's the journey for users to start shopping on Roblox.
Okay, well, let's jump in. Let's find one and let's see how it goes.
I'll watch over your screen.
I'll be the guinea pig. Let's go
Let's do
to
it.
real-time review. Okay, this is real-time review. We're excited this week because Shopify has come to the Roblox platform at scale. All kinds of different brands and creators are leveraging it to sell real-world items inside of their games. And today, we're going to jump into the Fenty experience. It was built by Sawhorse, and they are pushing real-world commerce directly through that. Have you seen this? It just dropped today. Have you seen this, Albane?
Yes, many congratulations, guys. I'm so gutted that I can't see it, but honestly, it looks, as always, with every time Sawhorse touches any type of experiences, I feel like you guys are like I don't know, the type of experiences that you create is always so beautiful. And I've really enjoyed playing the games that you've added as well. So let's jump in and just show everyone the incredible work that you guys have done here.
Thank you very much.
And I think, Nick, maybe something to mention as well is that this is so the shopping experience, as you mentioned, is only available for US users, but also for people that are 18 plus. So if you verified your age via the identificator on Roblox and you are 18 plus, then you'll be able to shop these products within the experience.
Okay. So here we are in the environment. I'm here with this interesting character that looks like a spaceman. That's a pretty cool avatar.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Astro
And,
Neo.
and I know Albane's a big fan of my avatar.
I mean, yes, very beautiful. I mean, it fits really well with the serenity of the environment that your team has built. Remind me a bit of like the inspiration and like maybe the creative.
Well, I'm not the art director, so I'm probably not the best person to speak about it, but we took influence by all the ingredients that all the products are built from, and we kind of sectioned those in different areas and kind of brought this surreal, larger than life kind of futuristic world to this
Yeah.
land. Okay, so I'm walking into the big Fenty structure here, and I'm gonna see if I can buy something. Okay,
Yes.
I'm back. I've been here before, but these are the products.
Yeah. Should we talk first about the one that we're seeing in front of us, which is the exclusive Fenty gloss that's been created and it's just available on Roblox? And I think what's really cool is that the product is referring to the iconic viral items that was released as well, and it's the alter ego of Rihanna. So again, like such a smart thing for them to do, which is like creating also a bespoke product that is only available on Roblox. It can only be bought there.
Yep, that's the exclusivity. That's the whole point. The only place you can get it is Roblox.
Yeah.
And this is the Gloss Bomb, the Grape Splash color. So
Yeah.
let's see if we can purchase it and what that checkout flow is. So you can just walk up to this huge 3D modeled product,
Mhm.
and then you just hit E to interact, and it loads up on the screen.
Oh, it looks so cool.
Yeah, the Gloss Bomb Lip Luminizer Grape Splash. I mean, that looks pretty dope.
Yeah, and I think something again that's like amazing is that you can load your. So this is the Fenty official campaign that is on their social and others. So you can also like it really feels like that e-commerce feeling of being able to like see the product in real life, being worn by the model, and then go on do us the honor of clipping on shop. I'm really curious to see what comes next.
And really the question is like when you're doing this type of checkout, you want to remove as much friction as possible.
That's right.
Because otherwise you're like, oh, I got to go off platform and go over here and verify this. And it's like you start to lose people very quickly. So let's see how seamless this is. There's a button that says shop. I'm clicking on shop. Boom. Loads up this Roblox page. And it's $22 for
Oh.
this item. You can change the quantity, and it's got an add to cart button and it has a buy now button. So I'm just curious.
And then you have all of the other product. So it really feels like, any other, like, reminds me a bit of like ASOS, another marketplace.
Yeah, like standard ecom at this
Yeah.
point. You know, you got your mouse and you have all the buttons to click on. Fairly simple. So let's
Okay.
click buy now. What happens? Okay. Loads up a checkout screen. This is all within Roblox. So I'm
Then
going to fill
perfect.
this out, which I got to add it as a relic. So we're buying two.
We're buying two.
Buy now. We
Perfect.
yeah,
That's
all the
entered like
information is
that's
already
kept
there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Cool.
pay now with my credit card that I've already set up. Your order is being processed. We
So
got the spinning
excited.
wheel.
Done.
Boom. Confirmation you paid for your order. Okay, awesome.
And then
Close
back
this, and I'm back in
back to it.
Roblox.
That's amazing.
Very, very low friction, very smooth
Yeah.
experience. And what's exciting is that this is rolling out across the entire Roblox platform. So whether it's a branded experience or it's just a developer's game, they can sell products directly through Shopify at scale. I think this is really exciting. What do you think, Albane?
I'm really excited. I think there's There's obviously like some, in terms of the integration of Shopify, I think this is incredible for all the brands that are set up to sell with Shopify. I'm just excited to see, this is obviously the first tester. I'm excited when you're going to have also like other partnership like Salesforce. Maybe at some points we'll have even less friction with just Apple Pay. I think this is like just the first step into what commerce could look like within the platform. And I'm really excited to see not only for brands to tap into this, but if you think about the Roblox brands like the 𝗕𝗏𝗄, the Dress to Impress, like this is going to be amazing for them to also engage with another on another level with their fans, and also to convert their fans and users in another way than just through microtransaction and engagement.
100% agree.
This looks amazing.
Yeah, I know. I kind of
Like,
want to play this
look
now.
at it. This
But
is
we
so
got a
good.
show. We got an entire show to get back to, and
Yes.
we've got Winnie to talk to. So let's go back to the
Let's
show.
exactly. Let's go back to the show, and so we need to learn more about the Shopify integration.
Let's go.
We are thrilled today to have Winnie Burke join on today's episode. Winnie is the Global Group Director for Fashion and Retail Partnership at Roblox. I've met Winnie at very early days at 𝗥, so back in 2021. And at the time, we were launching 2D items for 𝗕𝗏𝘆𝘀𝘀. The platform has evolved, and so has the partnership team at Roblox. And I'm really excited to talk today about how brands can engage on the platform and exciting things that are launching on the platform in the upcoming months. Winnie, it's a pleasure to have you today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Albane. How are you? So
Very-
nice to be here.
Very well. I think, when I think about Roblox and also the journey that we've had together, you've been at Roblox for nearly a decade, and before you were VP of Digital Ads at Sony. What drew you? And I'll be very interested. I think everyone has a bit of a different path when they enter virtual worlds and this new form of social media. What initially drew you onto Roblox? And looking back in the last 10 years, how would you describe this journey? Would love to kick things off to understand what those last 10 years have been like for you.
Oh, wow. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute honor to be here with you guys. I mean, love working with you both, and have had lots of great stories to tell over the years of collaborations with different types of partners doing different types of things, and us exploring this space together and finding what resonates for our community as well as for the brands in our ecosystem. So thank you for inviting me to participate with you today. I'm really excited. So going back early days to my time at Sony, I was at Sony for about 7 years. And at the time, we were selling advertising and integrations into PlayStation, which was really exciting. And it was one of the components of that offer was in an environment called PlayStation Home, which was a virtual world. And Nick is shaking his head, so he remembers.
Yeah.
And Home was kind of like Roblox. It was like a 1.0 version of Roblox. And of course, Roblox is a company that's 20 years old at this point too. So kind of probably came about around the same time. And the things that we were doing with brands within PlayStation Home was very, very similar to the work that is being done or had been done early days within Roblox. And so what I knew to be true for certain about that work is that brands were highly, highly interested in this space. And because it was so new, the utility for users was not necessarily there. The audience in PlayStation Home was relatively small, but the brands were super leaned in. And one of the first things that I did with the brand was build a virtual Ford showroom for one of their vehicles. And you could go into the virtual showroom with your avatar or as your avatar and learn about the cars and learn about like the newest technology, and not necessarily take it for a test drive, but we had NPCs who were actually like the dealers, and they were programmed with information about the cars. And the space was so new. And again, the utility wasn't necessarily there, but the brands who were incredibly leaned into this space, because I think they and myself as well knew that this was like a look into the future. It felt very futuristic at that time, which was, probably about 15 years ago. And I was fairly certain at that time that the industry would catch up and that users would catch up. So when I was looking at opportunities to, leave Sony and do something a little bit more immersive and a little bit more kind of going back to my roots of going to a platform that was, early stages. Because coming from a big company, that was something I got to build a division or help build a division within Sony. But coming to Roblox was an opportunity to really join a company that was really new and kind of help shape what brands could do within those environments. And so we started out in Roblox. It was very, again, early days, and we were, doing things like video advertising and a couple other, sort of lower barrier to entry placements. And we kind of pulled back on that process about 8 years ago, and started working more with brands that were interested in doing kind of more interesting things that would really add value to the community and add value to the platform as a whole. So brands entering really authentically, brands partnering with creators, and that started the work that we all started doing together, creating virtual items for the community that were, either virtual versions of a physical item that existed in the real world or something that was net new, and having building immersive experiences. And, I just love that work. It helps you to be really creative. It allows you to kind of like help brands reach this audience in a really authentic way. And I feel like, we have come full circle because we've done so much of that really immersive work for so many years, and we continue to do that work. We have, over 400 brands throughout. We have activated on Roblox throughout this journey, but there's also an opportunity here to kind of grow into what the more standardized versions that have. It's where our headroom exists, frankly, where we can reach more brands within lowering the barrier to entry and a more kind of scaled approach to bringing more brands onto the platform. So really excited about all the work that we've done, and frankly, their future is very exciting because I think we're just scratching the surface still.
Yeah, absolutely. Still feels like early days, even
Yeah,
though we've all worked with so many brands and helped bring them to the platform, you
exactly.
especially. I want to know, I want to take a step back though, for
hmm
those listeners that aren't that familiar with Roblox, who may be thinking about Roblox as a game, like the Roblox game, or it's a
Yeah.
game for kids. But there's really so many more things that Roblox actually is.
Yeah.
Can you maybe expand on that and give us some more context? And then also explain like why so many brands from like the fashion and retail world are like gravitating toward the platform.
Yeah. It's actually one of my favorite questions or statements when someone says, "Oh, isn't Roblox a game?" And I'm like, "Oh, yes, here we are. We're going to do some myth dispelling." So if someone says that, like, quite frankly, they haven't been on Roblox, because you'll realize pretty quickly that it's not just a game, but really a collection of millions and millions of experiences and games that exist on the platform across a wide range of interests and with cultural relevance. And so if you're defining Roblox as a game, it is very limiting in terms of what you imagine you can do on the platform. There's, it's at its basic level, we're an immersive gaming and creation platform with a goal to connect 1 billion people with optimism and civility. That's our goal and a foundational value of the company. And one of our newer goals also is to capture 10% of the gaming market. And so we everything that we're doing as a company is in service of these two things, and that's something that we are very excited about because we're making, progress towards those goals every single day. But really more interestingly, I think at this point, is that we're really sitting at the epicenter of culture, of socialization, and self-expression, not just among Gen Z audience, which we're well known to capture, but also expanding out of that, not Gen Z, but older, but also Gen Alpha, who's coming up right behind Gen Z. And the content is really as diverse as the audience and the culture for which we are creating that content for, or which our community is creating that content for. And naturally, that will reach far beyond just gaming. I'm also going to take a different sort of turn on this, which is I think that the definition of gaming has also expanded to be more inclusive of what gaming looks and sounds like, maybe, more traditionally. And because of that, because the definition is a bit more inclusive, we are seeing things and content in sports, in music, in entertainment, and of course in fashion really kind of fit what that definition is of gaming, and where Roblox really feels like a natural place for that, because all of that content does have a place on Roblox and can have a place, and it really is this, fueling all of this like cultural resonance that has like a very, again, circular relationship with platforms like YouTube and TikTok, where content that is created on those platforms informs content that gets created on Roblox, and vice versa. Content that's created on Roblox has a lot of sort of directional resonance with YouTube and TikTok, where content is being created out of the games that you'll find on the platform. We have nearly 100 million daily active users, with 97.8 million daily active users on Roblox. More than half of that audience, 62% of that audience, is over the age of 13, which is really exciting. And again, a very, very distinct and sort of cumulative growth over time, with 400 experiences on the platform to date, 4.83 billion visits to branded experiences as of Q3 last year. So that number is even bigger today, and 932 million hours, over 932 million hours spent on the platform and branded experiences on the platform. So again, a lot of content. A lot of consumption, a lot of engagement. Users are spending 2.5 hours a day on Roblox, and it's because the content and the community is creating this content that really has so much resonance with our audience today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way, guys, because you are so close to 100 million daily active users, and it's such a huge growth. And I think, as you mentioned, this is a platform that the same way, I think, as Nick mentioned, there is a bit of this stereotype that there is a Roblox game. And I think there is a stereotype about who the audience is. And it's really incredible to see where the growth as well of your platform is going towards, where, as you mentioned, over 50% of your audience is over the age of 13. Can you tell us, I think, deep diving more into that user base, and why, I guess, fashion brands and retailer are particularly interesting in the culturally relevancy of the audience that you have on Roblox, and how and why these brands are engaging within the platform?
Yeah, I think, this is an audience where their digital identity is so extremely important to them. It is generational in a way where, a user it really considers their digital identity and their avatar in spaces like Roblox to be an expression or an extension of themselves. And they are very tuned into how their avatar looks, what they're wearing, and it's a form of self-expression, really. And this self-expression is not limited to, how you define yourself or how you dress in the physical world. You can be anything that you want to be, and having access to really millions and millions of items within the Roblox marketplace allows you to kind of dress your avatar and be that person that you may be too shy about being in the physical world. Or, if you are a more outgoing person, you can be an alternate version of yourself. You can dress according to your mood. You can dress according to the experiences that you're playing, the friends that you're playing with, your personal style, taking chances with your personal style and pushing the boundaries. And all of this is reflected on the platform, and the limitless choice of avatar items that you can have to dress up your avatar and present yourself in these environments. And that really resonates with our users. We see experiences like Dress to Impress, and you have the Heidi Klum's new experience, Modelverse. This is a category of fashion experiences and dress up experience, essentially, that allow you to really fully express yourself. And we have these experiences that are really doing this so well, and the category is growing very significantly. And I also think that it's not just about, like, if you're a brand, it's not just about creating like a digital version of the physical item that you have, or the items that you have in the real world. It is about taking chances as a brand, not just, recreating your catalog and creating a one-to-one version. Sure. Should you do that? Yes, that's perfectly acceptable, and something that, especially if you have like a really high value IP, your user is going to want to wear that same version on their avatar. But it's also about taking chances and creating something that's really net new. And I think, kind of future looking, I think a lot of brands will look to create merchandise or digital merchandise that is sort of its own category, that could be inclusive of a physical version, but also have like the first, like a digital first collection that is really meant specifically for this audience. Because it's a new surface for brands. This is a new surface that you can dress someone. It's not just about physical dressing, but you can dress someone in virtual environments. And this is a new surface that brands should really be thinking about if they're not already. So it's an exciting time to be, participating. And we're seeing a lot of brands, coming onto the platform and doing just that, this type of experimentation.
Yeah, I mean, it's so impressive the amount of ways that brands can show up, and they can all be really creative as well. And that must have been really cool for you to see because when you started, at the beginning, the only thing you could do is create like a 2D clothing item and put it on the marketplace, right? And then since then, it's been expanded out to being able to do integrations or brands building their own experiences. Now, commerce is here to a certain degree. Um, Talk about like all the things that are available, and also how does a brand pick? And I didn't even mention ads, like running
Mm.
media and
Hmm.
programmatic.
Yep.
How should a brand be thinking about? Wow, Roblox seems really interesting. What do I do?
Yeah. That's actually a really good question. So another question I'd love to answer. So when brands are thinking about approaching the space, I think that they have naturally seen what other brands are doing in the space, and their inclination might be like, oh, I feel like I need to show up in that same way or bigger or better because I don't want to be overshadowed by what, a brand in my category has done historically, where, this my brand may not have the same resources or the same budgets. And so I think it's really important to know that as a brand there is no like one size fits all for coming onto the platform, and there's no wrong way to show up. I mean, there probably is a wrong way to show up, but there's if you're not on the platform, then you can't make an impact, right? And you're not connecting. So assuming that that's not a choice, and if you're coming to the platform, you have to really consider your perspective. Like, what are your objectives? What are you trying to do? If you're trying to reach a Gen Z audience, there's a couple different ways that you can do that. So that's like a blanket statement. I think of it in two ways. I think of it as content, and I think of it as marketing. And oftentimes these two go together, but sometimes they can be separated and distinct, and they can serve different purposes. If I'm a brand and I'm like, I need to reach this audience in a scaled way, and it cannot look that different than what I'm doing on other platforms, because that's what works for our brand, and that's where the lion's share of our budget is invested in these other platforms. Those are the brands that we would steer into or talk with about advertising solutions, because it is the lowest barrier to entry, and because it allows a brand to kind of quickly scale without doing anything that's that different than what they're doing on other platforms. And that sometimes is a great point of entry because it's easily explained inside the brand walls, right? If your brand is maybe, not doing a lot of in the innovation space, or wants to kind of take a wait and see approach, like that is a very easy way to reach a demographic that you notably are not necessarily reaching on other platforms, because there's a very low duplication with the Roblox audience. And then
But
sorry, go ahead.
between those two,
Mhm.
what do you think drives more value?
You mean content and
Running media.
advertising?
Yeah.
Really depends on the objectives. If you're looking to create a more immersive connection with an audience and tell your brand story in a way that has not been told before, then creating content in whatever form that is, virtual items, integrations, persistent experience, limited time experience, whatever it might be, creating content may be the path for you, because it's a way for you to really kind of own the narrative around how your brand shows up and build a more immersive connection with that user that can be sustained over time, or it can be somewhat fleeting while you resurface and figure out what your next thing to do is. But if you need to measure, you know, how this performed next to how this performed, and I need them all to be in the same measurement toolkit or measured the same way, then advertising is probably the way to go, because that is where you can see what's moving the needle for the brand relative to your peers. And we know that Roblox is, a newer platform on the media side, and on the brand side, it has to prove return on investment. I mean, that's just a flat out fact. And so enabling brands to participate in both, which I do think that there's a value there for brands to actually put those two things together or separate. Like it could have like a reach strategy with media, and you can have a more immersive, maybe somewhat narrow strategy with content. But when you can work those two things together, I think that's really where you have the opportunity for the biggest impact within the ecosystem and with the consumer, and ultimately gain a net new customer for the brand, which is really what it's about for the brand marketers.
And Winnie, I think so. In it's really exciting to see how creators are going to be able to then, I think, utilize the fandom and the user base that they have on those experiences to now also convert, and it's another layer of engagement. The Shopify partnership was announced at RDC last year, and since then has been really seen in beta. Is there any success stories or any behavior that surprised you when this launched and in this first beta test?
Well, we have seen some really good early results with, commerce that we're testing on the platform, where creators who have bundled the digital and physical items together. This was maybe a bit of a surprise for us, but actually kind of validates. And when you think about it, it feels like it validates, what is a natural behavior on the platform, where, digital items are also helping to really compel the purchase. I mean, you have to think about where the purchase is coming from. It's inside of these native experiences. And those digital items have such a high value, wherein brand marketers might be like, the digital is sort of like an add-on, like we'll just give that away. And obviously the reverse, for a brand marketer would seem to be true, which is the physical item has the value and the digital item is just an extra. What we have seen on the platform in the early results is that it's kind of the inverse relationship, particularly as it relates to native experiences. So Creatures of Scenario, for example, Dragon Adventure, and World Zero. Alex Hicks noted that they attributed nearly 90% of their orders to the Roblox commerce integration, and then a subset of that also going to sales through their own website. So the commerce integration was really driving the purchase there, which was really exciting. We're also seeing brands start to leverage new commerce integrations like Fenty Beauty, which had success in the platform in its previous iterations through the community created collaborations. We're creating a special shade of the lip balm. And now that they are going to bring that to fruition and actually have that path to purchase be completed within Roblox and within the ecosystem, again, enabling that path to purchase, so you're not necessarily having to send users off platform to Sephora to purchase a physical item, that they can actually do that directly within the commerce flow on Roblox. So that's really exciting as well. This is the time. This is an audience with a very low duplication with other platforms that are well known to receive large majority of investment. And this is an audience that is fairly untapped. So it's not congested with brands. You're not tripping over brands, and we're always going to do brand integrations in a very authentic way, in a very streamlined way that, again, has to add value to the community. And you're not going to get an ad every time you try and engage with content. So we are very methodical about how we bring this to the platform. Rewarded video is our newest product that, if there is a product that can add tremendous value for a brand, and helping elevate the perception of a brand, it would be rewarded video, because effectively the brand is enabling that experience to give you the thing for free that you would have had to pay for otherwise. So it's whether access to the next level, get behind the closed door, the virtual item that you always wanted, a new house for your friends, all of those things, and virtually, of course, that enables you. The brand is giving that to you for free to watch 15 seconds of a video, or 30 seconds of a video. So that feels like a really high added value or ROI exchange. We have all the mechanisms in place, and also, of course, to be able to measure that and help you as a brand marketer and agency understand that these are the metrics that are moving the needle for the brand. So again, fairly untapped audience, much lower barrier to entry, if that's the path you choose to go down. And I actually think that it helps our story now, because it feels like a time when brand marketers are started looking around saying, like, well, what else is there? And this is definitely the place. We're not just getting started as a platform, and we've already done like the hard work and built the community, the content, and the surfaces. And now we're inviting brands to participate in a more meaningful and scaled way. So it's a very exciting time.
That was perfect.
Love it.
I couldn't say more. And I think I'm just excited to see, like, it is crazy to think that how little time and how much has happened on the platform and how much has evolved. So I'm just really excited to see 5 years down the line what you guys are going to do and how more brands are going to be able to engage on the platform. Like, but as you said, meaningfully, there is a real value exchange that can happen on the platform that's you can't find on any other social platform. So I'm really excited to see more brands to leverage, I think, depending on what the objective are, leverage the platform the right way.
Yeah, same. It's like every day I feel like we're just getting started. I feel like we're just getting started. It's so exciting. There's more to come. It just is really, there's no stagnancy here. That's for sure, as you guys well know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Winnie, for
You're
coming today.
welcome.
I really appreciated your time and all the valuable insight that you've given today. It's yeah, I hope that was useful for all of our listeners and brands that are still skeptical or not sure how to get on board. I'm just really excited, and thank you again so much for your time today.
Of course, anytime.
Thank you, Winnie.
Anytime. Thank
Always love
you.
those conversations. Wow, I love talking to Winnie.
Me too. I think I can't say that enough, but how incredible how much the platform has evolved and what brands can do. And now with direct response and commerce, I think there's so much more opportunities that the community, but also brands can really leverage. So I'm just really excited for us to have this conversation, like even like 2 years down the line to see how
Yeah.
the has evolved. So really excited by this interview.
And I think also what's really interesting is this is a brand new user behavior.
Absolutely.
Like users on the platform, they traditionally are sort of going there to either play a game or socialize with their friend. It isn't top of mind to be like, I'm going to go shop for things that I can then get in the real world via Roblox. So this is a brand new behavior that has to like be sort of taught and integrated over time. And from a technical standpoint, you can see how different brands and there's been different ways that ecom has kind of come on the platform. And now it's Shopify is here at scale, and we're removing barriers to entry. We're removing friction, and I think we're getting to a point where over time, it's just going to become very natural for users. It's just, I think it's one of those things that will take time.
No, absolutely. I think it's a question, right? Because I feel like Instagram Shop didn't pick up and that didn't work, but TikTok Shop immediately picked up. So
Yeah.
I think it'll be quite interesting to see. It probably has to do how brands are thinking about the discovery and how they are thinking about selling their items. And I think if it's cleverly done and linked to either like a storytelling or something, as Winnie mentioned, to value that is related to in-game
Yeah.
item or anything like that, then I think this is how you can crack the code. It's more about thinking you can't apply, I think, user behavior on TikTok and user behavior on Roblox and how they're gonna shop. So it's the question mark, right? Is this going to be Instagram or is this going to be a TikTok? And my basket is more on the adoption that TikTok Shop had. But I agree with you where this is really new for this community. So let's see, I think, how it developed.
Yeah, it'll keep developing on a monthly basis. So let's just stay on it, and we'll report back more in the coming months. But that was awesome. Let's jump to what's played out.
What's played out? I've got a good one this week, I think. But you start.
I've got a good one too. So this is this concept essentially of just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I feel like it's human nature to, if we learn something and we know we can build it, then we have to build it, right? And I just was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, Hard Fork, and they were talking about this concept about how with AI, there's so much compute needed. So you have to build all of these data centers and fill them with really fast computers. And there's been this growing trend that these data centers have been established in third world or developing countries like Latin America, Africa, Asia, um, to support the AI movement to like get the energy we need. And one of the problems is, in order to run these data centers, they take a lot of water to cool down the machines,
Yeah.
and they take a lot of power to just spin them up. And in a lot of these areas, power and water is already in short supply. So, you have to weigh the pros and the cons, right? It's like we're pushing technology forward. Maybe it's better for humanity. They talk about the possibility of AI being able to cure cancer, and remove cancer as something for the human race. But at the same time, we're basically, making life more difficult for the poor, and we're not addressing things that we literally are right in front of our face
Mhm.
that we could potentially address. And it reminded me of one of my favorite musicians and spoken word artists from back in the day, like the 70s, Gil Scott Heron. He did a song called Whitey on the Moon. And it's basically, even back then, talking about how NASA was investing so much money in the space program to get people up to the moon, to get people in space, and meanwhile, people in poor areas and communities can't afford to eat, can't afford to go to the doctor, can't afford to live. So, it's just an example of like, I'm an optimist. I'm a futurist. I love technology. I want to build all these things, but it's disheartening when you look around and you're like,
What's the impact and at what cost? Yeah.
yeah, that, and like we got so many problems at home. We got problems down the street. I think Silicon Valley is trying to solve these big problems, and sometimes it's like, what's the priority of the problems we have to fix? You know what I mean?
I mean, like we have a recent also example with the Blue Project and Amazon sending people to space. Like, do we really need that? Do we really need people to experience zero gravity and then to have like this whole PR stunt around it? And I don't think people really understood why there was so much backlash around it. But that is the point. It's like, do we really need that? Like, not because just because we can doesn't mean we have to, because not everyone has, like, how much was it? It was 500K to have it in 11 minutes. Like, when there's huge crisis, sorry, throughout the world. I think it's you're absolutely spot on. It's a bit like, when you are launching those technology, you need to think about, is this to drive a positive impact? But even as I'm the first one to do this. Like, when now I ask my question to ChatGPT, and I don't really think about, when I ask ChatGPT for a recipe for a chocolate cake, the amount of energy that is needed actually just to get this answer, because it's readily available on your phone, and it doesn't feel, actually, you don't really think about the impact that it has actually overall, but it's a massive footprint, sorry, that you're having on our ecosystem. And I think we need to be a bit more mindful of how we're using those tools.
Yeah, and I'm definitely hypocritical because I just flew halfway across the country to go to an award show, so my carbon footprint is
Yeah.
pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's, you see it, and then it's like you're part of that machine as well. So it's hard to stop sometimes just on your own endeavor.
Yeah, well, it's played out. What's
Yeah.
played out for you this week?
Well, a bit more lighthearted, and in the I guess the world of gaming and UGC content. But my played out is, I am tired of seeing obby games. So for those that are less familiar with the language, but essentially obby stands for obstacle games. So a parkour game. But it is a very popular game mechanics that we're seeing more and more on UGC platform. But I'm just really interested to see how the content on these UGC and virtual platforms are going to start evolving. I think, obby has been something that we've had for a really long time. Like, Mario, I would say, is a bit like, it's not an obby, but it's that obstacle mechanic mentality. It's just now it's like in a 3D format, and I'm just really interested to see how we can push a little bit the type of narratives and games mechanics that you can have. And I know that there's recipes that have been done and tested, and this is why when you're releasing a game, it's smart to utilize some of these mechanics. But I'm also keen to see, what is the future of the content that we're going to see in these virtual platforms going to be, because I don't think that it's really sustainable if it's just obby. So I'm
Yeah.
really keen to see what I don't know. It's a how do you call it? I'm asking the developers out there, what can we do, and how can we create content that's not obby but also engaging and maybe more storyline based?
Yeah, I agree with that. But, just in the defense of people that build obbies, for instance, as you said, like, this is a trusted format that works.
Absolutely.
And, when you're investing time and money and energy, you have to de-risk. And I agree. I love innovation. I'm the first one to make an experience instead of a game. But if the user base doesn't want that experience, then you're in trouble. So it's really about, like, I think it's all about threading the needle, like understanding the audience. What things do they like? How can you give them, something that they would want to do, but at the same time, weave in things that have not been done before.
Exactly. Disrupt a little bit, but in the comfort zone of the player.
Yeah, and it's like any like copy. Anytime like you copy a movie or you copy a game or you copy any of this stuff where it's like, it's clearly not bringing anything new to the table. It's just like that movie, only they changed a couple characters. Or it's just like that game, they just changed the map.
Exactly.
Like that stuff is played out. And I think as an opportunity, especially with UGC, there's the barrier to entry is not that high. You
No.
can be so creative, you can take risks, you can have fun, you should push it. And so yeah, when something that comes out that's just not inspired, it's a miss, right?
And I think it's what's happening on all of those platforms. I've deleted TikTok for the 10th time. I probably will download it back, but I'm just tired. I think of these UGC platform being like a repeat of the same content over and over and over and over again. You see that on TikTok. It's always about whatever is trendy. You see one creator going viral and 20 other creators recreating the exact same frame. And we're seeing that in some way in like Roblox is another UGC platform. So those thematics still exist. When you have something that goes viral, you know that there's going to be similar experiences that are being created. But I just want to make sure that Roblox and Fortnite and all of those UGC platforms continues to be innovative spaces, because it is an innovative media. So I just want to make sure that there's still creators that are like testing and trying to create something new, because that's how the platform evolves, and that's how YouTube is still really relevant, because you have creators that are constantly bringing new content that's never been seen before, and then you always have the people that repeat it and like follow the trends. But I just want to make sure that these platforms are encouraging those like trend starters and are creating something new, because it really evolves the platform and the people that are going onto these platforms.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole point, right? Like make something good, make something new, make something engaging. So don't make it a copy.
Voila. On that note, we're done for this. What's our 14th episode?
14. We're racking them up.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Thank you again for Winnie for joining us on the podcast today. We don't know what we're going to do next week, actually, Nick, but stay tuned, because I know it's going to be a really exciting one, like always.
That's right. But we will be at the 𝗕𝗿𝘆 Summit in LA. So I'm sure there's a lot of fascinating people that we're going to pull aside, and that should be a pretty interesting listen.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And we'll see you next week. Edward, read us out.
And that was Brands in Play. Thank you for joining the podcast where we explore immersive marketing and the people who are leading it. Today's episode was co-hosted by Albane, Prioux and 𝗕𝗃𝗄. Our show today was also produced by myself, 𝗕𝗃𝗃𝗃, with creative direction by 𝗕𝗃𝗃𝗃 and 𝗕𝗃𝗃𝗃, and audio engineering by 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗃. Be sure to join us every week for brand new episodes.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of host employers. The information shared during this podcast is based on personal experience and publicly available information and is intended for informational purposes only. Any references to specific platforms, companies, or partnerships are made in a personal capacity and do not imply endorsement, partnership, or official association with any organization mentioned.